When a lion or another big cat meets a huge snake on a narrow road, it turns into a duel of the century. The python relies on a powerful throw and strangulation. The cat, on the contrary, attacks with its paws and constantly maneuvers. Now you will find out whose tactics turned out to be more effective. Even if you support reptiles more in the confrontation between cats and snakes, you involuntarily start to worry when you see the cautious steps of this leopard towards a huge python. This is the rare case when a snake has stretched out on the ground so that we can estimate its size fairly accurately. According to the most conservative estimates, its length is about 14 to 15 feet, about 4 meters. I just want to shout out to the leopard, "Don't you see how big she is? Take it! Save yourself, run!" It seems that the leopard behaves so carelessly because of inexperience, otherwise he would have tried to circumvent this coast for several miles. How amazing it is when you see the denouement. Even being inferior to the enemy in size, the leopard overcomes the huge python, and the spotted cat does it without necessary movements and fuss. Perhaps if the snake has crept up to the enemy unnoticed and attacked from ambush, the leopard would have turned into a hearty lunch. But the predatory beast had the opportunity to prepare. The smart cat appreciated the weaknesses and strengths of the enemy and understood exactly how to attack such a snake. The move is quite obvious. The leopard attacks the snake's tail, but not just bites or hits, but stretches the opponent. The danger of throwing any legless reptile lies in their phenomenal ability to twist their body to then shoot them forward. This is how venomous snakes attack, which try to inject poison. And in the same way, pythons attacked, which after the first bite proceed to strangulation. But if the snake is stretched out, it will not be physically able to strain its steel muscles for such a throw. A simple but so clever move by a leopard that you cannot help but wonder, did these cats study animal anatomy in college? In any case, such a smart approach is worthy of your like, don't you agree? The battle between a python and a leopard is probably the most intense confrontation between a large cat and a snake that you have ever seen. The fact is that in this case, none of the opponents has a clear advantage. The leopard is the smallest of the panthers and is significantly inferior to the huge python in strength. But at the same time, the spotted cat remains a formidable opponent for its size and can surprise with agility, mobility, and reaction speed. And the python, in turn, although devoid of strong scales, still with such dimensions has a very strong skin and endurance, which gives him the opportunity to squeeze a very steep thrashing. The heart starts beating faster when you see that the python was still able to grab the leopard with its jaws. And now, the snake began to encircle the victim with rings. A little more, and the cat will not have a single chance to retreat. The terrible embrace tightens more and more. The count goes on for seconds. But at the last moment, the leopard manages to slip out of the grasp of his enemy. You will be shocked, but the cat is not trying to escape. He goes on a counterattack and attacks the enemy again. The leopard is one of the few animals that can afford to fight a python in the stalls and count on some kind of success. Both predators use their typical battle tactics at 100%. The python strangles his victim, tries to break its ribs and deprive it of strength. The leopard slips out of the enemy's embrace again and again, fights with all 4 paws at the same time, dodges, and constantly maneuvers at super close range. The duel required maximum exertion of all forces and almost cost the leopard his life, but as a result, it was the cat who celebrated the victory. This time, the python was too close to victory for the spotted predator to dare such an adventure as attacking a large snake at least once more. At least in the near future. During the battle, the python relies on close combat. This is the best wrestler in the world who really uses his whole body as a weapon. The jaws are used for grabbing, but they only begin the attack. The main task of a python or a boa constrictor is to pile on the victim. If you think that this requires some kind of time reserve, then you are mistaken. These snakes have some amazing, even unnatural control of every muscle. Thanks to this, the python can entangle the prey in just a second, making one throw on its body. This is what the snake that attacked the antelope at the watering hole showed. You need to slow down the shooting so that it becomes possible to see the python's movements. Otherwise, they merge into one spot. The ungulate is incredibly agile, but here he had no chance. Of course, thanks to the speed of throwing, the snake becomes, perhaps, the most dangerous prey that the leopard claims. Every second he risks himself. A single mistake will cost him his life. If the python can cling to the leopard, it will not escape. But leopards are known for their amazing concentration. There are even legends about hunters who accidentally ambushed leopards in the forests of Asia. The cats were so focused on hunting ungulates that a person could come up from behind and gently touch the tail. Do you believe in these stories? Or do you think that they are hunters' tales? Answer in the comments. The battle of cats and snakes can be very different depending on which species are faced in the confrontation. Cats differ from each other not only in size, but also in habits, combat tactics, and character. Snakes differ from each other even more. First of all, they are divided into poisonous and non-poisonous. As it is easy to understand from the name, it is the most powerful toxin that is the main weapon of poisonous snakes. The black mamba is a fairly large reptile that can reach a length of about 9 to 10 feet, about 3 meters, which makes it the second most venomous snake in the world in body length after the king cobra. Therefore, in battle, it can not only use poisonous fangs, but also physical strength. But if you take the poison away from it, then for such a bully as a lion, it will be just a long sausage. That's just the poisonous glands of the black mamba are always ready to release a huge dose of poison. This snake is one of the most venomous on the planet. Its toxin has an extremely complex chemical structure, and this substance consists of a whole set of compounds called blockers. Some affect the nervous tissue, while others deal a crushing blow to the work of the heart muscle. It turns out that the poison of the black mamba poisons several different systems of the victim's body at once. That's exactly what happened to the poor lioness you're seeing right now. What does she feel? We have an answer, but believe me, everything is very sad there. First of all, it is a burning and severe pain in the bite area. Immediately, there is a very strong swelling. The venom of the black mamba is not only complex, but powerful. So much so that in some cases, it causes incredibly rapid tissue death at the bite site. In fact, like some kind of acid. But the main thing is the signs of poisoning of the body. This is abdominal pain, nausea, double vision. All this is against the background of terrible convulsions that break the victim's body. She's shaking and can't come to her senses. At the same time, breathing gradually worsens. There is arrhythmia, that is, the heart strays from the normal rhythm of work. Each next breath is more difficult than the previous one. It simply does not work to breathe deeply, and the victim gradually suffocates. The neurotoxin of the black mamba targets those neurons that control the work of the lungs. By disabling them, the snake's venom causes the victim to suffocate from actually shutting down the respiratory system. And all this in a matter of minutes. At the same time, the black mamba perfectly understands the effectiveness of its only but such a powerful weapon. She used to behave quite boldly. and if possible, the snake freezes or tries to crawl away. But if it feels threatened, it immediately attacks. The situation becomes quite frightening if you remember, the black mamba is the fastest snake on the planet. No, it won't catch up with the lioness, but at a short distance, it can move 3 times faster than a human step. Given the ability to blend in with the environment and move unnoticed, the snake turns into a real-life ninja. The lioness sees a quick shadow, feels a blow, and that's it. The sisters will have to go on all their next hunts without her. The most unpleasant thing about this situation is that it was difficult to avoid. Most venomous snakes try to conserve their venom. Its production is a complex and energy-consuming process for the reptile organism. But the black mamba prefers not to hold back. Although she is not looking for a fight purposefully, she immediately goes on the attack if she is ignored or taken by surprise. This gave her the reputation as one of the most aggressive, vicious, and insidious snakes. In addition, sometimes she can try to escape from enemies right between their paws. If it moves towards the enemy, it can bite as if on the move, without even stopping their movement. This is scary, since the victim may not feel the bite at all and think that everything is fine, the danger is past. And then they feel the first symptoms of poisoning. Oddly enough, people have a very high level of resistance to poisons, much higher than that of, at first glance, stronger and larger animals. For example, horses and other ungulates. But still, the only way to save yourself from a black mamba bite is to urgently introduce an antidote. Without an antidote, there is no chance. But thanks to the high resistance, a person has at least enough time to make a life-saving injection. The body of the lioness will finish off the toxin of the black mamba in just a few minutes. Even if the camera person had a poison serum with them and went against the usual rule of non-interference of wildlife researchers, they might have still been too late. However, even if they had immediately rushed to the lioness's aid, it is unlikely that her sisters would have let them near her. Just imagine, just now a terrible huge snake bites your hunting partner, and she's already convulsing, and suddenly a man runs out of this strange four-wheeled metal monster right in your direction. It is very unlikely that the camera persons would have had a chance to help the lioness. But would you like to do it in their place? Answer us in the comments. The cobra is another snake that has not only venomous glands, but also quite a lot of physical strength. The king cobra is generally the longest venomous snake on the planet and can grow longer than some pythons. It's worth saying right away that contacting her is a stupid idea for any cat. The chances of coping with a leopard, lion, or tiger are not completely absent, but a cobra has a much greater chance of winning. It will not be possible to defeat it with one throw, and during close combat at a short distance, it will almost certainly manage to twist and bite the opponent at least in the finger. This will be more than enough for a powerful neurotoxin. The anaconda is one of the longest snakes in the world and certainly the heaviest. Even the average individual of this species grows up to 20 feet, or 6 meters, with a weight of about twice as much as that of a reticulated python of the same size. The mass of the young bull, incredible swiftness, and honed reflexes, all this makes the anaconda an extremely dangerous opponent. But the way it has adapted to the living conditions in the Amazon River basin is especially inspiring respect. The fact is that this snake just loves water and swimming. In the river, it gets a lot more room to maneuver, can move with greater ease, and in different planes. The entire mass of the anaconda is the strongest muscles twisted like tight metal cables around the skeleton of the snake. It is not surprising that the anaconda is one of the few predatory creatures that hunt not only herbivorous animals, but also crocodiles. Moreover, the anaconda can even defeat the black caiman, probably the most dangerous lizard of both South and North America. Attacking it, the snake entangles the enemy with its rings and gradually squeezes. This not only suffocates, but also causes critical damage to internal organs and especially the circulatory system. As a result, the anaconda feels completely confident even in such a dangerous place as the Amazon, until the jaguar comes on stage. This cat is the only panther of the New World, the third largest in the world after the tiger and the lion. But although it is inferior to the lion in length and mass, the bite force of the jaguar is almost twice as much. Incredibly strong jaws, which could surely leave a trace of fangs even on metal, are needed in order to open the strongest armor of local animals. The anaconda has no armor, only a smooth and, by the way, scaly skin that feels pleasant to the touch. Jaguar fangs cope with such protection as a hot knife pierces butter. But the main thing is, of course, dexterity. Jaguars have incredible swiftness. Their rush to prey resembles those action scenes from a superhero movie when a character moves so fast that it turns into a blurry shadow. Except the jaguar doesn't need computer graphics to show us something like that. You barely notice him. Then a blurry spot flashes, and now he's already standing next to you. Speed is combined with colossal strength. A jaguar can lift the same black caiman, holding it in its jaws, and then jump onto a steep, swampy shore. And this is with a load that weighs about as much as the cat itself, if not heavier. Who will win, the jaguar or the anaconda? It already depends on what will notice the enemy first and under which circumstances. The anaconda can defeat such a cat, but only if it manages to entangle it with its rings. Then the jaguar simply physically will not be able to use its crushing jaws or strike it with its paws. Of course, the jaguar will avoid this at all costs. The speed of his reaction is lightning fast, and the snake will have to try very hard to catch the predator by surprise. If it succeeds, even a jaguar will turn into a hearty lunch for an anaconda. By the way, because of the slow metabolism, these reptiles need meat very rarely, once every several weeks. And the maximum period that they survive without food, without significant loss of strength, is measured in months. If the jaguar managed to react in time, or was the first to attack an unsuspecting snake, then its chances of winning are extremely high. In addition to agility and strength, he has another advantage: intelligence. The jaguar knows that the strength of the snake's blow depends on how it bends the body before throwing. So if you stretch the anaconda out, it will have little opportunity for real resistance. With the help of claws, the jaguar can easily grab such objects. And thanks to dexterity, the cat gets away from counterattacks. The fight against the anaconda requires full concentration and takes place with great tension. But although the jaguar is at least twice as small as the snake, with due diligence and patience, he will be able to defeat it. Moreover, the jaguar is not afraid of fighting with such an opponent, even in the water. He will try to move the battlefield to the river bank, but he will be able to fight back even in the Amazon itself, thanks to excellent swimming skills that any other cat would envy. So, the winning tactic of the jaguar is not to let the fight go to a close distance. The cat will strike single blows, tease the snake, exhaust, and try to inflict small but tangible damage. And then the jaguar stretches the snake and gets down to business in earnest, grabs the snake by the head with its jaws. Would you like to see such a duel live? Or do you prefer to watch such a spectacle through the screen, enjoying the safety of your own home? Maybe you have experience traveling to remote wild corners? Share your experience with us in the comments. Some jaguars are so brave and strong that they can even hunt anacondas right in the water. This is especially difficult for them. Cats rely on paw strikes. Even at a shallow depth, it is difficult to find a foothold for a truly crushing blow. But somehow the black jaguar defeats the anaconda in its territory, after which it calmly pulls out of the water a snake that weighs more than the jaguar itself. This is a real feat. As you already understand, despite the mighty muscles of pythons and boas, as well as the toxins of poisonous snakes, these reptiles do not have a cloudless life at all. They have worthy opponents. Therefore, some of them have found amazing weapons. It would seem that fangs and claws are normal for animals. But the shooting? But it turns out that some snakes have really learned long-range remote attacks. These are spitting cobras. In fact, several different types of snake can release venom at a distance. Perhaps this is a feature of one common ancestor from which several species originated. Or perhaps several parallel developing species have come to such weapons independently of each other. In any case, poison shooting is an effective weapon against aggressor cats of any size. So how does this amazing mechanism work? The teeth of such snakes have a specific shape. The channels through which the poison is fed seem to be turned forward. To shoot the venom, the snake raises its head, aims, and releases liquid through these holes under such pressure that it flies at a distance of about 7 to 8 feet, more than 2 meters. At the same time, this technique is exclusively a weapon of defense. During hunting, snakes will never spit venom and do not try to catch prey from a distance. Instead, they hunt in the usual way. They sneak up on prey or ambush it to inject the venom into the body with a conventional bite. The first question that arises when you learn about this phenomenal way of self-defense is the mechanism of the poison. After all, this toxin, for all its destructive properties, is not an acid. It is not capable of burning through the skin of the beast, otherwise the cobra simply would not be able to keep it inside its teeth. So, this is a common poison that poisons the body only when it enters the body, at least when it comes into contact with the mucous membranes. How then is it possible to use poison effectively against such formidable predators as lions? The answer is simple: eyes. The venom of spitting snakes is very strong and concentrated. If it gets into the eyes, it causes severe pain, burning, and even damage to the internal structures of this organ. For example, the destruction of the lens and retina. And here you will learn a nuance that will make you treat snakes with great respect. They are not just shooters, but real snipers of the animal world. Lions are very fast, as are leopards or cheetahs. But the spitting cobra has mastered the technique of targeted poison shooting. Firstly, it accurately targets the eyes, and secondly, during the shot, the snake makes undulating movements with its head. So the poison is sprayed in a wide arc. Even if the cat reacts in time and dodges the first drops, the rest of the charge will probably catch up with her. If enough poison gets into the lion's eyes, it will lose its sight forever. Experienced predators know about this and avoid meeting with such an opponent. And the inexperienced, well, the world of wildlife is harsh. That's how, in a fight with cats, these types of snakes found almost an ultimate weapon. It's easier to hit a big target, so honey badgers, mongooses, and other relatively small and agile snake hunters pose a danger to spitting cobras. But lions and other big cats should definitely beware of approaching this opponent. The cheetah is the fastest runner on the planet. It can reach speeds of more than 70 miles per hour, more than 110 kilometers per hour, at least for a short distance. But this is a consequence of a rather narrow hunting specialization. The cheetah most often hunts fast and maneuverable impalas and gazelles. He is strong enough to defeat wildebeest or zebra, but fighting with other large predators is a very, very bad idea for him. He has no chance against a lion, so it's also better not to mess with a hyena and a leopard. The anatomy of a light and lean cheetah is designed for a lightning-fast short chase, a quick strike, and the completion of the hunt. Massive rivals are not for him, especially a giant snake that relies on brute force. Therefore, if a cheetah meets a python, it will try to simply bypass the threat. He will not be able to defeat an adult snake. As for venomous snakes, the incredible speed of running does not mean that the cheetah's reaction speed is better than that of a flash or mercury. He can dodge the cobra's throw, but why risk it if there are plenty of appetizing and mostly defenseless impalas around? In general, although mongooses and honey badgers have a reputation for snake hunters, cats practically do not lag behind their colleagues and are often the first to attack snakes. They are just universal hunters, so the fame of snake fighters has passed them by. It's a pity. Even small cats can fight back against a huge cobra. The secret of success is courage. The venomous snake has one weapon for that ultimatum. Therefore, the only chance to survive is to go straight towards danger. Therefore, cats in a fight with poisonous snakes do not attack the tail and not the trunk, but aim directly at the head. Thus, the brave animal tries to knock down the attacking rush of the enemy. If the claws hit the snake's forehead, it cannot physically reach the paws with its teeth. This tactic does not always work. In addition, small cats are vulnerable to snakes, which prefer strangulation to poison. This rather famous scene of the cat mom's confrontation with a huge python ended with the rescue of the kids because they were carrying people nearby who did not care about the balance in the world of wildlife. The cat fought bravely and threw the snake off the slope several times, but a little more, and the python would have eaten the kittens. To prevent this, people intervened at the last moment and literally pulled the snake by the tail out of the cat's lair. Would you have done the same? Or would you have taken the position of biologists who prefer the role of outside observers? Let us know in the comments. But where small cats give up, panthers and other large relatives, on the contrary, overcome snakes. The largest representative of this family is the tiger. Its mass often exceeds 1/4 of a ton. In addition to pure physical strength, he has amazing fighting skills. It seems that during hunting, the tiger uses some kind of martial arts that allow him to throw a buffalo weighing up to a ton over his shoulder, break the boar's neck with one blow, or overwhelm a deer before the ungulate realizes what happened at all. Nevertheless, the snake is a worthy opponent even for such a tough fighter. This is a very rare, still black and white video of such a duel of giants. We must give the tiger his due. His straightforward attack seems to have discouraged the python. Instead of cunning tactics, the striped beast decides to rely on something that has never failed him: crushing force. But the python, especially such a huge one, is not a pack of chips that you can just take away from the supermarket shelf to have a snack in the evening. The snake avoided the fight with all its might. She has repeatedly given warning signals to the tiger that she does not want a fight. But the striped one simply ignored the reptile and bit into its side. Then the python was forced to resort to its incredible strength. The tiger responded with fangs. The cat's jaws closed several times around the python's head and neck. To the tiger's surprise, this was not enough to end the fight in his favor. The python bit into the tiger from the side, then wrapped its rings right around him. The tiger's strength is incredible. Even with such a burden, he managed to jump high several times. But he never managed to slip out of the snake's grasp. Well, the python can honestly admit that it was just honest self-defense. As a result, the tiger was never able to get free. Surely during the last stage of this giant fight, he regretted that he decided to contact a snake 3 times his body length. After all, this python is a good 26 feet, 8 meters, of tight muscles. And to save its own life, the snake used every one of them. The tiger could not escape. The python realized that it was overpowering its enemy and did not let it go. He tightened his grip harder, then even harder, and the tiger just couldn't take a breath. The snake's muscles around his torso were so tightly tightened that the tiger could not physically straighten his chest to let air into his lungs. And then the python tightened its embrace even more to inflict critical damage to the internal organs of the striped hunter, who has now become prey. There is also a relatively new video in which a tiger and a python appear to us as such heroes of a western. 2 fighters met on a narrow path. They stopped to assess each other. Who was gonna shoot first? Nobody. The tiger just retreats. And the python doesn't want to mess with this guy either. Hunting is a dangerous business, but it's better to rush at bulls than to try to overcome a huge snake. Smart move for a tiger, don't you think? Although the jaguar is the only panther of the New World, it is far from the only wild cat that lives on the American continent. A worthy competitor to her is the cougar. Although it often exceeds leopards in size, the cougar is not a panther and belongs to small cats. This scientific classification is related to the structure of the skull and vocal cords. For all its size and strength, a cougar cannot growl like a lion or a tiger, but it will be able to give the snakes the same decent fight as the jaguar, huh? It turns out that everything depends on the snake. The fact is that the rattlesnake, which lives mainly in North America, is probably the fastest snake in the world. That is, if you only take into account the speed of the throw. This reptile bites almost as fast as a bullet flies into its target. Dodging the lunge is almost impossible for anyone except exceptionally agile animals. Once upon a time, Indian mongooses were even brought to America so that these animals would help farmers exterminate snakes that bite cattle. But the animal, which dealt with cobras at home without any problems, turned out to be powerless against the rattlesnake. The snake was simply too fast for it. So, in a rattlesnake and cougar duel, it's better to bet on the reptile. Your chances are way higher. Rattlesnake venom has a pronounced hemotoxic effect. This means that it destroys the structure of the blood and poisons the heart along with the entire circulatory system. Even a minuscule amount of poison when it gets into the blood can deal with a cougar in a couple of minutes. Fortunately, there is a mysterious balance in nature, and the more terrible the poison, the more difficult it is for the snake's body to produce it. Therefore, the rattlesnake does not bite everyone that it can reach. Although this snake is not afraid of a fight, it tries to avoid it to the last minute. That's why it needs a rattle, a specific skin structure at the tip of the tail. The masking coloration, which makes it easy to sneak up on a prey, makes the reptile almost invisible even to a cougar. And so that the cat does not accidentally step on such a creature, the snake deliberately betrays itself, begins to rattle the tip of its tail while taking a protective stance. That is, the snake twists the body like a big spring. The rattlesnake is ready to shoot his head at the target for a fatal bite at any moment, but deliberately delays the blow to give a random opponent time to escape. And only if the warning of the rattlesnake is ignored, and moreover, if they try to attack the snake, it attacks almost always for sure. And this cougar acted very wisely. It decided to be careful when it encountered a huge python in the expanses of humid Florida. In fact, in this case, the mountain lion will attack the snake in the head in order to quickly break its neck and not allow itself to be bitten. However, during the attack, the python may have time to twist and dig into the cat, and then wrap its body around it. So this tactic is not a guaranteed success at all. Why does this cougar seem to taste the python and try to bite it in the middle of the body? The answer is simple. It's the first time it's ever seen such a big snake and genuinely does not know how to react to it. Fortunately, the python is not in the mood for a fight either. Instead of counterattacking, it quickly removes the torso from the puma's teeth. The cat was smart enough to understand that it was better not to mess with such a terrible creature and go look for easier prey. So this time, both opponents remained alive and did not even receive any damage. What do the masters of Oriental martial arts say there? The best fight is the one that did not happen. You can give this cougar a black belt. The black panther is not a separate type of feline, but just an unusual color. Due to the increased amount of melanin, the panther's skin may become darker. Some of these animals are really practically black. Others are really dark brown, and then the black spots will stand out noticeably against the background of the coat. Black panthers are found among spotted felines, jaguars, and leopards. This coloring often helps them to disguise themselves, no worse than the usual spotted one. Actually, black panthers create pairs with other representatives of their species, which have the usual coloring. Usually, from a group of cubs, the minority will inherit the black color and the majority will remain spotted. But these kids of a pair of black panthers and an ordinary leopard were unlucky. A huge python focused not on sight but on the sense of smell and the ability to detect thermal radiation of warm-blooded animals, because their body temperature is much higher than the ambient temperature. When the python got into the lair of the black panther, the kids had almost no chance. Their mother came in too late. She was able to save only one, the last kitten. It is difficult for us to accurately judge the motives of the animals' actions because they themselves cannot explain them. In addition, the desire for revenge is considered too complex a feeling that requires not only a good memory and a developed emotional spectrum, but also an understanding of the relationship between the causes and consequences of actions. Therefore, the attack of the black panther on the python, which occurred much later, is interpreted by some as just a coincidence. But we believe that the cat was purposefully looking for the one who took the kittens from her in order to deal with it. At the same time, at first they couldn't afford it because the last kitten needed a mother. If she had started a fight right in the den, the baby could have suffered. First, it was necessary to find a new shelter, and only then to start looking for that offender. That's what proper prioritization is. And what do you think? Is this really revenge? Or just a leopard accidentally found a snake and decided to attack it just for food? Let us know in the comments. We are very interested to know what your opinion is on this. And there is no doubt about the patience and perseverance of the panther, especially if it has a powerful motivation. If you used to have to worry about cats who met big snakes, then here, you can only sympathize with the snake. The fury with which the leopard attacked the python is really frightening, although we can understand it. Only the finale of the duel got into the camera lens. The leopard calmly and ominously approached a tall tree with a python in its teeth. It is not surprising that it was the male who found the python. Unlike tigers, who have little interest in the fate of their offspring, male leopards are caring fathers. Although these cats normally prefer a solitary lifestyle, the spotted daddy takes care of the kittens while they are very young. According to the state of the snake, it is clear how cool the predator has treated it. Like a horror movie character, a leopard easily jumps up at the tree with a heavy snake in its teeth and slowly, as if with pleasure, drags its prey up there. It is better not to associate lions with poisonous snakes. These predatory cats are fast and agile, but still rarely can dodge the rush of a swift cobra or a black mamba. But what they are superior to most other felines in is their brute physical strength. Therefore, the lion is one of the few who can fight even with the largest pythons. Where simple strength is not enough, the lion will take combat skills, in which he surpasses even the tiger. After all, the striped cousin usually deals with herbivores, but the lion almost always fights with other predators. The snake has nothing to surprise us with. This does not mean that the python does not have a chance against the lion. For example, in the case when a very young teenager allowed itself to attack a snake, this was the last mistake of its life. The python did not immediately manage to reach the young lion, but when it did not retreat, the snake showed that playing with it was a really bad idea. But if this is a huge male lion, it has a chance not to let the python entangle itself by using a trump card: powerful blows with its hind legs. With them, the male can repel the python. Here the snake's chances are already falling. The lion trains in sparring with other lions so accurately to hit with its hind legs. With its front paws, he grabs them by the head, pulls them up for a bite, and tries to tear their stomach with its hind legs. Does this remind you of anything? Yes, domestic cats. If angered, will act almost the exact same way. But the real strength of a lion is its pride. As you understand, if a python can still oppose something against one lion, even the strongest one, then it cannot cope with several lionesses. When a python bites and grabs one, others come to their aid. They stretch out the python, grab it from different sides, and bite, holding it in this position. There is no land animal that has enough power to make a python stay on the ground without moving. But 4 lionesses at once might. The python just has nowhere to go. Does this mean that he is afraid of lions and always avoids them? Yes, but there is one exception. Lion cubs look very appetizing to the snake. Group hunting is such an effective technique against pythons that lionesses allow lion cubs to join the battle long before its finale. This is also part of the training. The python can escape at the last moment, but it's alone, and enemies are everywhere. It turns out that if a big cat meets a python, or for example, a poisonous snake, the result of such a confrontation will not be unambiguous. It all depends on many circumstances. If one side had an unambiguous advantage, then the second simply would not have survived to this day. The enemy would have exterminated the enemy. In fact, snakes and cats have their own trap cards. One-on-one, a jaguar or leopard can best cope with a python or boa constrictor, due to a combination of agility and strength. Tigers have much less chance against such snakes, although they are larger than spotted cousins. The advantage of lions is the number. A duel of one adult lion with a python can end with the victory of both a snake and the cat, depending on the experience of the fighters. Cheaters and cougars should avoid all dangerous snakes, and no large cat can feel safe if a poisonous reptile is nearby. Small cats can still dodge the cobra's throw, but the bigger the beast, the easier it is to aim at it. A venomous snake does not care where exactly to dig in with its fangs. The main thing is to inject a dose of toxin into the victim's circulatory system. Therefore, a leopard, several lionesses, and a jaguar have more chances against this python together, but it is better for large cats to avoid poisonous reptiles. Who are you rooting for in this epic confrontation? Are the cats your favorite? Or maybe you prefer elegant, cold-blooded reptiles? If so, which ones, pythons or huge poisonous snakes? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to be the first to see the most interesting and exciting moments of the world of wildlife caught in the camera lens.